There you go, Rocco. Bust a move. New all-time highs. Rocco move dancing. There you go. And want more of that? Let me know feedback. We want to see more on the show. It's all-time highs, so we'll see what we talk about. You can see more of the dog. You can look at more charts. Very interesting day. Very interesting day. Very big move behind Taiwan Semiconductor, having a huge day. Push semiconductors and tech, even though a lot of the indices traded sideways. We'll take a look at the charts. Bonds had a big move lower here, meaning rates shot up. That hurt real estate and a lot of different assets, but you did have new all-time highs for the S&P 500, for financials, for utilities, gold, the Dow. There were many areas. So without further ado, let's share the screen. And I really am looking forward to sharing the screen here because the AI image generator, they work today. This is what I can only perceive is a Taiwanese man and woman back there jumping over semiconductors. And I guess technically Taiwan, I did get the AI. Taiwan and semis leap behind Taiwan semis, big gain. And then there you go. I don't think it's racist. I mean, it's just, there you go. He's in Taiwan and really a nice image. So that was a big move for the market today. Taiwan, the country, EWT up 2.7%. The semis ETF up 1.7% behind Taiwan semis, big 10% gain. They were basically so bullish, saying they were so sold out by their major customer, NVIDIA, that the bullishness of their comments almost more than kind of offset the bearishness from ASML yesterday. It was basically a 360 or 180 because we were just, whatever. So bond sell-off, big move lower in TLT, LQD, all those VGTLT, all those relevant ETFs. We're going to look at the TLT, not to get redundant, as we don't like to do on this show. And yeah, new all-time highs, like I said. If you want to see the tickers, it's SPY, XLF, financials, utilities, gold, and the Dow. All right, so we'll get into all the moves here. Let's pull up the charts. So let me just showing the intraday. That was a cool graphic. Yeah, maybe the AI, it is coming for our jobs. That's pretty neat looking. I can't come up with that, I don't think. I have artists are out there. I did a sip and paint thing with the wife for her birthday, and I'm not making any Taiwanese people jumping over whatever. Okay, so here's the intraday chart, I believe. Let me see. Yep. All right, so here is your VWAP, that orange line here. These are 30-minute candles. So yeah, all the exuberance and everything for the S&P ran out right about 9 a.m. That's when we put in those all-time highs. That's when everyone's 4K was highest, most valued ever. It was right pre-market, and then we sold off. There was a decent-sized bar here at the open. Volume today was pretty atrocious, 32 million shares for SPY. So very, very anemic. Yeah, good size sell. We're at 930. Doesn't look like we're quite ready for that 586 print or so in SPY. I don't think we are either. We'll take a look at the more longer term chart. But as we said, so it traded underneath VWAP. And then here it had literally a tug of war here until 130 with low volume, wrestling with this $584 price, $584.23 to be exact. And then a big bar lower at 2 o'clock. There was a significant sell program, if you will, went from 584 to 582.5, and then we never really rebounded. Okay, so as I zoom out here and I go to a where is the you'd think, all right, whoops, daily, there we go. All right, so this is going back a ways here. What is wrong with my chart here? I apologize, guys. Something looks funky on here. All right, so here's the SPY. So basically what we're looking for here, I had to really relook at the charts. It looks like we're entering on October 25th. 3 of the 4 indices have, to me, identified October 25th on or around there for the accumulation period phase to end and us to give way for some selling. And that makes total sense to me. It totally makes sense with a little bit of volatility pick up as it goes into the election before you see the vol crush, which I think you'll get after, barring a civil war or something. So all that being said, I think the S&P has a date on the upside, as I said, maybe about 4 points of upside from here. I have a 587 target as of right now with the vol expansion, and then a sell-off probably takes you to about 572. That's what I'm anticipating, right on 570 or so, and that's not a ton, because that's only levels essentially that we've just gotten to for the first time, this week. So we'll see how deep the sell-off is. If things get ugly, I have a target lower about 560. So again, that is right where my cursor is. 560 is prices that, again, we were just discovering for the first time in July. That would be an ugly sell-off, taking you about 3-month lows with that rolling momentum. I don't think we get it, though. All right, so that is that. Something is still weird with my chart. There we go. All right, thank you. All right. So let's take a look at what matters. So that's my call for SPY. So you should have another week or so. 8 days is my count of bullishness through the end of next week. But again, only towards 587 or so upside. So 1% up. And your downside risk to me is about 10 points, down to about 572. All right, let's look at the charts that moved today massively. Let's get into it here. So Taiwan, the nation behind Taiwan Semi. I'm not going to look at the single stock, as we don't do. Let me know in the comments or something if you really do want me to start looking at single stocks as a dedicated part of the show. But I like doing macro. It lets you, from there, especially if you do top-down analysis, obviously Taiwan had a huge 2.7% move. Then you go under the hood. So that's what you should do. So yeah, again, looking at this chart, so Taiwan, a major move today behind, obviously, Taiwan Semi. Chart looks great. The highs were back here on 7-11, 57.69. Nice rising 200-day moving average. It's just above the Bollinger Band. It closes here from time to time. Last time it did it here on September 26th. Bullish and everything here, but again, kind of similar to what I had to say about the market in the video 2 days ago before the Yankees won that game, by the way. And hopefully they do it again tonight. But this looks like the upside here target for me is about 56.5, 56.75. I can't even really squeeze to about 57. Let me say, yeah, 57 will be my absolute highest target. So for this specific name, EWT, obviously I'd rather be a buyer than seller, but the target's around 56.5. So nothing to do here. But if you were long, especially from from the third, these past 2 weeks, that's a nice move in the nation ETF, 53 to 56.5. So again, rather be a better buyer than seller, but it's at target essentially with this big thrust today. All right, next mover. There's only two, and they're obviously both very correlated due to the constituency of TSM. So here is the semiconductor ETF we had talked about before. This one is going to experience some volatility, and the target for that, unfortunately for me to say, is right around 263. I'm not even getting that volatility expansion in the group, even with that big bar of 2 days ago, but it takes more than that. But yeah, 263 for a target, and again, that would take us to the July highs. The group looks just a little bit tired. It's technically been trading in this box for the past 3 months. By what I mean by box is, so 282 down to basically 200. And you can do measured moves and see when it breaks out what the next move it would be. And I mean, easy projection for me would be like 320, but this is far off in the future. I'm talking about more short-term moves. All that being said, I think this hovers towards 247 or so over the next 2 weeks. I think it trades a lot of sideways. You're going to have big movers like a Taiwan Semi lifting, an ETF like this. NVIDIA has been a big mover lately, and then you'll have some drags down. Like AMD, I don't think has been doing super well. And then the other one from yesterday, SML. So you're going to have some tosses and turns, and I think that will in earnings season, provide a lot of give and take, if you will, with this ETF. So I think this hovers towards 247 with a lot of sideways moves for the next 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks or so. So about another just about 1 to 2% down is my call on this net in the next 2 weeks. But a good day today, up 1.7%. All right, if you have a ticker or something you want me to look at, I will take a look. All right, bonds, massive move today, absolutely massive move. Rates shot up higher, which is why it hurt real estate and other assets. Like, take a look at the chart. That is rare that you get that big of a candle in TLT. So let's take a look. We had said before, because we just highlighted this a couple of days ago, that it's going to be in accumulation mode. Kind of surprising, the big fall off this morning. All that being said, I do like the support that TLT has right around this 94 level. So I think this will be, it's an ugly looking candle. Tells me usually things aren't short-lived. You guys see obviously how it trades tomorrow. The 200-day moving average, which is starting to go south, is at 94.11. I like the support on that. Overall, it's held the 93 level, I will say, since July. So, I mean, good, decent 3-month support. And that's when the 200-day started to actually rise. So I believe in that. I think it's going to be a mean reverting bounce for this towards 96 in the next 2 weeks or so. So I still see this getting higher. And what that would mean is TLT rises, bond prices go up, yields would go down. So we'll see. But right now, yeah, a big move lower today in bonds, all the longer term ETFs, LQD, like I said, VGLT. We chose to look at TLT, the most liquid of these. And just another note on this, oversold behavior here. Not really great. That will usually take you under a 200-day moving average, especially when the 200-day is starting to go south, as you can see here. So it actually stopped, not that it's really super important, but it stopped going up on October 2nd. So again, once you get about 2-3 weeks away from 52-week high, if you're not having those numbers, those inputs come in, and immediately after the high was put in on September 17th, the day before the Fed cuts, it started trading below major averages. What I mean is the 50-day moving average and the 21-day exponential moving average, and it hasn't really recovered yet. So the market's still adjusting. The longer term, instead of just the belly of the curve, is still contending and digesting the Fed cuts and what they're going to do for the duration of the year. All right. All right, ARKG, haven't looked at this chart in a while. Had a big move lower today. Again, rates shot up. A lot of these companies are pre-revenue. They're living, die on trials. It super adversely affects them. I used to trade this piece of junk like UNG, meaning what I mean by that quite specifically is when it tags the 200-day moving average, you sell, Mortimer, sell. When you're done, sell some more. So this has been a pretty tag. It did it again here. I mean, this, again, look at these candles here. So this very top of the wick, that was an instant rejection, September 18th, day of the Fed cuts. That was an easy sell. I think I'd actually mentioned it on the show, but I said there's better trades out there. But yeah, it has not recovered. So today, a big move lower. Again, this has not held the 200-day moving average with any kind of strength since mid-March. So not a great group. My short-term forecast, let's take a look. So this thing looks pretty beat. I mean, if the best it can get on rallies is 25 even, which is its 21-day exponential moving average, doesn't look super well to me. It could be in a little bit of accumulation mode if what I said happens. TLT bounces up, rates come down, and obviously help this group. I see this have a mean reversion bounce to about back only to that 25 region. If it really has some gusto, it could get to 26, but not as easy a trade, I don't think, as before. But like I said, this is a big mover. If it gets to about 26, a 10% decline takes you right about to 23.30. You can get that with expansion, volatility expansion, if there's really sellers and they exit this group. But a 200-day that's rolling over, it does not look great. I want to see some more signs, and potentially, if you're desperate for shorts, because XBI looks good, ARKG looks like crap, and obviously there's different constituents. This is long, I believe CRISPR is Kathy Wood's favorite name. I have to double check. And XBI has totally different weighting. It's a much better ETF. So yeah, that's my call on ARKG. Big move lower though, obviously with rates shooting up. And then it took a beating on this one today. India, not so swell. India down pretty hard for a country that doesn't move a ton, down 1.25%. Let's take a look at the chart. I said before, I didn't think there was going to be a ton more pain because I like the support, almost similar to what I said about TLT. The support for this to me here is about 56.65. It broke that today. So you're like, John, what are you saying? And even here it went lower. I still see them as extreme inputs. Obviously, the momentum here is not looking strong. I do still think this is an accumulation mode for the next 2 weeks. I don't think it's in an area you super want to avoid. I'm going to trade it carefully with my risk management. I'm in December, 57 calls, so it sliced through it today. And when that happens and you're long an option, almost no matter the duration, the option is going to fall very hard because there's just a more attractive contract essentially out there in layman's terms. So the option today was actually, if you think about it, the December 57 calls in a low vol ETF, that option was down 25% today. So with the country down 1.2%. So you always have to think about the leverage. All that being said, in the next 2 weeks or so, I still see this group getting to about 57.25. So a gain of about, call it 90 cents or so. So option took a beating today. I do think it'll be positive and it'll shoot up. Surprising performance. It's been almost trading like gold recently, and gold has had a new all-time high today. So a little bit interesting move. I don't think it goes much lower, and beautiful rising 200 moving average. Again, similar to what we said with TLT, this is a low vol country. Look at the scaling here from low to high here. So 42 to 59. Once you get like, the highs were put in here September 26th, if it's like October 26th and we're trading below averages like this, you're going to start to see this go flat, and then it's going to start to go south. So it's just math. It's just math. I don't know why I said it like that. Okay, so those were the big losers. That's why we're talking about TLT, ARKG, and India. They got hammered today. Multiple Sigma moves. So not fun day if you're long those. All right, top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. I believe many folks are talking about it. It is your Bitcoin, the best gainer from the long side in the past 5 days. It is up 12.2%, the specific ETF. Today down 1.4. Let's take a look at the chart. I had not so super, bullish things to say. I think this is resembling my call in the market, essentially. So I think it's going to be an accumulation mode. Let me move the cursor so you can actually see something. I think it's going to be an accumulation mode for the next 1 week to 2 weeks. But the ceiling for me on this is about 39.25. So it'll have a nice little bit of a move, but it'll be, according to my calculations, even inside these July highs. So we'll see. And if you want to translate for Bitcoin, because that's what people care about, it's going to be very close, although the borrow is different from an IBIT and expense fees and everything else versus this just spot in US dollar. But so basically what I was saying before, so I'm going to do it in terms of percent move. So before I had 39, I'll say for a target for IBIT, I'll do this on the fly with y'all. 39.5, and that's going to be pretty bullish. So that's going to be a move of boopity bop, 3.8%, call it 4%. You get some volatility expansion. It's Bitcoin, for goodness sakes, and you get 67K, and that'll take you to about just under 70K. So again, not amazing momentum in that it's taking out its previous highs back from the spring, right? From March 14th. I don't think it gets there. I think it gets to, I have it here, 69,700. So that is, if I'm right on that, similar to what we just had on the other chart, that'll be inside the July high. So we'll say still rising 200-day moving average. Just obviously, if you look at the scaling on this has tripled, right? Or don't look at the scaling that way. But here it goes from 33 to 72, more than a double. You're going to have great inputs. So this is going to have more time, okay, to explain not just vanilla. I think people get it, but just because a 52-week high and then a 1 month goes past, it's not that simple. You still have massive extreme inputs in the beginning, right? So from January, in Bitcoin's case, this thing went from, I'm just rounding, but went from 40K to 73K, and that's massive inputs. It has a lot of time to buy, so much so that the 200-day moving average is an impressive 61,000. That is a nice near-term support for Bitcoin. I want to see that hold. I think it will hold. All that being said, as I said, I think your upside target is 70K in the next 1 to 2 weeks. And people are going to get excited, and then that's going to be it, and they'll probably sell off. And then people say, oh, that was it, all-time highs, later. It's not going to happen now. Although people are saying this is a Trump trade now, and that it's been on this stellar rally with Harris's chances going down. Not so sure. Possibly, if he wins on election day, you get a big pop in Bitcoin, but I'm not so sure it trades that simply. This is a very liquid instrument. And for example, when there was talk about the ETS being approved, everyone said, oh, this was going to, go up 20% day one. Same thing for Ethereum and all future approvals. And it doesn't just quite work like that. So I'd be careful with the whole, Trump trade. I think he has a ticker already if you want to, trade his chances. I think it's DJT, although they're also untethered. All right, another thing. I'm really blathering today. All right, so uranium. This was an interesting one. The second best long. This was a time super correlated with Bitcoin and the AI usage. Uranium up 11%. Let's take a look at this. We had looked at this in the past because of the significance of the 200 moving average. And when we start the clock, a major, shoot up today, up 1.3%. So this 200-day moving average essentially flat, pretty much in the same measure since July. The actual figure is at 28.85. It has started to curl up since it held that actual level since September 23rd. So about 3 weeks. here's where I determined it. So the first day when it fell through, just a little back history quickly. So July 18th, and typically I'd say it's 4 to 6 weeks. So just to make the math simple, we'll go August 18th to end of August. So this thing had to buy out a lot more time because this is what it did at the end of August. It had this going up to 27.55. That's not quite good enough. And actually, it's a W pattern, and it actually came very close to matching its low from August. Pretty interesting. And now we have sliced through the 200-day moving average, a very important resistance point, basically consensus on what the price has closed at for the last 10 months. And now it has held. So now what? I think this is, and of course, you have to take the context that it's almost at 52-week highs and overbought conditions. Looks good. I would definitely, so just to wrap up on this, the calendar started September 24th. I call this thing kind of a superstar, buyable trend you want to get into as of, October 24th, which is next week if it's holding. And as of right now, it looks decent. The level is 28.85. Stock is trading at 32.76 for goodness sakes. Obviously overdone. Uranium typically when it gets above the Bollinger Band, it does start a bit of a downtrend when it has that kind of contact because folks just get a little bit too exuberant. Massive candle yesterday and then a rejection. And then an up 1.2% today. We'll see what happens. All that being said, this is what I'm saying about the market microcosm on steroids. I'd rather be a buyer than seller, but the target for this is about 31.5. So that is midway of yesterday's candle. So I don't want to chase that. So kind of, again, many markets have ran up a bunch. Don't want to chase them here. Better buyer than seller, et cetera, yada, yada, yada. All right. I think we only have, okay, so now, oh man, I'm really blathering. All right, those are the winners. We got one more. The KRE, regional banks, crushing it, up 7.5% in the past week. A lot of the banks are. Sometimes earnings trades are so simple as just buying it the day before, and hopefully you get a low vol ETF. I kind of got somewhat lucky. I bought the KBE the day before JP Morgan kicked off the bank, love fest, basically. That was the 11th. So yeah, the low. So I bought it on Friday, essentially equivalent in this. It's not the regional banks, but it is heavily weighted in that as well. 55 to 60. So an almost 10% move in a week. 52-week high right now today for this group. Exactly same thing. I'm not going to repeat it because now we're going to end up going overtime. Love the group. Literally am long. Rather be a buyer than seller, but the target is 60.5. So we're at target here essentially. So you get the message. Stay long for a lot of your assets. Be happy you're in those trends. Let's look at the other side. So now we're looking at the losers of the week. What are they? The king of the castle. The castle, if it was crap, net gas. So net gas, your biggest loser, literally the absolute opposite return of IBIT. IBIT is up 12.25%. UNG is down 12.25%. So if you have those pair trades, long Bitcoin, short net gas, congratulations. That is absolute alpha. That's nice job. You might want to get a job at Citadel. Okay, so here is UNG, better known as UNG or crap. So pretty weak. I didn't think new 52-week lows was going to come into play. This is looking really weak. The 52-week low, so is on August 5th, the day of the Japan Nikkei crash. We hit 12.55 on that. I didn't think it was going to get that low. I thought the support was going to hold. I still think it gets back towards 13.60 or so. I was surprised by the weakness. Down percent's not massive for it, but it's been really, again, textbook rejection. Sometimes it happens in assets. We talked about an ARKG and then becomes a frequency game. Look at the tags of the 200-day moving average. It's not just, gospel and God for me. It's also for algos that trade. It gets to the 200-day. Even this, which is the previous backward-looking 52-week high, bang, lower, sell-off ensues. Bang, sell-off ensues. Bang, bang, and I'm another Mike Breen. Bang! So, and then you can also measure how much it's going to decline and things like that. All that being said, I'm not looking for much lower right now for this. I think this bounces towards 13.75, and that's not really saying much. It's just where the crappy level was 2 days ago. But yeah, there's much better assets than this. If you want a turnaround story, Nat gas is not where your money should be. All right, Chinese internet. China, the FXI has gone off, has rebounded a little bit. KWEB is still under pressure. KWEB down 10.5% in the past 5 days for an average of 2% or so a day. Today down 4%. So this thing is still falling hard. So this is, I'm not going to get really into this because we're we're going over time here. I wanted to see essentially if the 21-day exponential moving average could hold. We talked a lot about the importance of the 200 moving average and what it means. I want to see this obviously is not a real price in terms of that. Investors didn't really accept it. October 7th, when this thing traded to 39, this was as funky. This after as it ran up in September 23rd to the 7th. This 2-week run up, I want to see what happens after the 2-week run down. So the 21-day exponential moving average, an important level for me, especially in a crazy volatile ETF like this, is 32.60. I wanted to see how it would have held. It didn't do it so swell. Not only, yesterday it got rejected there very early in the morning and then sold off after an ugly bearish engulfing, after an ugly candle the day prior. And then today's action isn't encouraging. So we'll see. And those moving averages are starting to go lower, obviously, since it really hasn't had a strong day since the 14th. So we'll see. It's under 50 RSI for the first time before the whole stimulus was announced. So not great feelings here. If you're a gambler, maybe you can play around here. But my new target, I mean, hopefully you get to 33. Be careful with this one. This is moving like a cannabis stock or something. So yeah. So again, tough spot to be in. I think if it has any kind of strength, it would mean revert and pop to 32.5, which would be a nice gainer. But the action today does not look great. I would say potentially thought the support was going to hold, but look at this. There's also gap, and gaps do tend to get filled. It happened in that gas as well. I'm not going to point up the chart, because we're going on 26 minutes here, and you can't hear it because Rocco's quiet, but he's snoring. Hopefully you're not. So this looks like this wants to get at least towards that the highs on the 24th, which is 2 days after, or the day after the stimulus. We'll see if that holds. Again, ugly candle today. And that level, by the way, would be just 30 even. So another $1.30, be another 4% down. Let's see what happens. Not encouraging action, though. Not encouraging. Okay. Next one. So, oil. Oil is the last one. Oil down 6.5% in the past 5 days. So the biggest losers are nat gas, KWEB, and oil. All different use cases. Nat gas, perennial, just piece of junk. KWEB shot up way too fast, overvalued short term, had to mean revert. Oil, different situation, had that catalyst last week on the missiles, shot up here on the 7th, and now we are starting to have that tug of war again with a 200-day moving average, although it is barely, you could probably not even see it, but it is starting to curl up barely, this black line here. I am short Schlumberger. The whole group has had a move lower, but not super dramatic. I think for this specific one, for oil USO, I think it'll hover around. I just am not super bearish. 74 to 75 is ultimate resistance on this. I don't think it's going to have that for quite a while. Oil, I would get out of the group for a little bit. I don't like the action, and I think this next sell off takes it to about, my conservative estimate is about 71, and the more aggressive estimate is 68. So that's where I'm thinking. I want to see where it trades over the next 2 weeks. But yeah, I think you're going to reversal of fortunes as well here in the 200-day moving average. That's the thing that starts to go lower. And that number, by the way, is 75.04. We'll just say 75 even. I think it needed literally potential, rumors of war between many nations, between several nations, for it to get above the 200-day moving average. And couldn't do it for a week. So don't love that. All right, I think we are almost okay. Wrapping up here. Top 3 absolute trades of the past 5 days. Like I said, long IBIT 12.25%. Absolute polar opposite, short nat gas 12.25%. So both moving the opposite directions, Bitcoin and nat gas. Hopefully you're not cross-faded. And then uranium monster surge up 11%. Stay along the trends. SPY looks good. I don't see any tickers in the chat. We're at target essentially, right around that 587 in SPY. But yeah, I also, last thing, I had my, Business Insider interview, and I will put the link in next week when it's published. But I put out my end of April forecast, or early May forecast, I should say, and it's 6,500 for S&P. So, or 650 for SPY. So stay long. That's essentially, we can talk about it after, but the market is, barring some unforeseen circumstance, which was always a funny line in Seinfeld, which almost immediately reversed after in the next scene. But barring some unforeseen circumstance, knock on wood, or my pad, which is not made of wood, yeah, stay long and strong. All right, I will have a different time video this weekend. It is not going to be tomorrow because it's the wife's birthday, and I try and be a good husband, and we're going to the opera, and it's a 3.5-hour opera. So, you hear me? That's love. Subtitles and everything is brutal. It's brutal. But it'll be fun, I guess. All right. Oh, anyway, so yeah, the video will be Friday night. I'm drinking a lot of the opera, and I'm not gonna wear a tux on the video. I'll probably just do it Saturday morning. Peace.